Good morning, everyone. We'll just give it another minute, wait for a few more people to come in before we get started. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Before we get started, I've got a few things to run through on our end. Please note this webinar will be recorded and all attendees will be muted throughout the webinar. And to ask any questions, please use the Q&A facility at the bottom of your screen. And when the webinar ends, you'll be directed to complete a short survey for us. It does take less than a minute to complete and your feedback will be anonymous. And if you have dialed in as a guest today, you can view more information by becoming a member and having access to more events like this at www.sapusers.org/register. And if you have any questions, please contact us at support@sapusers.org. I'll hand over to Richard now, who'll speak on the rest of this webinar.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name's Richard Henry. I am the Commercial Director for Bluestonex. I'll introduce my colleague here as well.
Morning, everyone. I'm Vikash. I'm BTP Architect with Bluestonex, and I have about 14 years of experience into SAP technologies.
Perfect. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Today, we're going to do a 101, I suppose, or our view of BTP Cloud Credits. So hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about them. So just firstly, I'm Richard, and we've got Vic here from the technical team. But Bluestonex, if you have not come across us before, Bluestonex are a gold partner in the SAP space, but we're also part of the App House network. So the App House is the leaders in innovation. So there is a small selection of partners around the world who have innovation directives and focus for the SAP world. So we look at the latest technologies and way to co-innovate with customers around the latest solutions using the latest technologies. So that's our background. We focus purely in the BTP space. So that's our niche. And we like to focus as well on the user experience within any applications that we help develop. So that's just a wee snapshot. We have an office in Shropshire, we have an office in London, and we also have an office in India as well. So enough about us. The agenda for today, we're going to give you an overview of the commercial models available when it comes to BTP. Vic is going to take us through a whistle-stop tour of the Discovery Center and why and how Bluestonex use it. We're going to then show you some of the tools that we use for monitoring consumption of BTP. And then we're going to give you some hints and tips on how to jumpstart your use of BTP. So this is tailored to those that maybe have already invested in the business technology platform or those that are considering it as well. If you've got any questions as we go through, please stick them through in the chat, and the UKISO team will help give us some pointers on them. So I wanted to start with a lovely image of our team mascot, Henry, here in the Oswestry office, and talk a little bit around what BTP is, in my view anyway, to a business. So I see BTP, the business technology platform, as a collection of services or Lego bricks in this analogy here, which can then be put together to create something that delivers value. So within the business technology, it essentially is a collection, a box in which you can select these individual pieces or models and the Lego bricks, and then you can put them together in a way that it either creates an application, maybe creates an integration or provides APIs that are available to you. So that is how I look at BTP. BTP is an overarching terminology. There is then a number of different services. Now, the current BTP platform that is available has 66 SAP services within that BTP platform. That ranges from the Work Zone, SAP Build, Integration Suite, SAC, DataSphere, all these, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, they all sit as individual services or Lego bricks within the overarching BTP. So I just wanted to start with that just so that we can set the scene. Now, commercial models. So this is a very common image that we come across. SAP, we love them, but also they have a really good way of confusing not only customers, but also partners sometimes as well. So as I say, Bluestonex, we focus purely in the BTP space. So we try and stay as close as possible to understanding the commercial models that are available. So there's two main categories here. There is non-committal and there's committal relationships with the commercial models. So pay-as-you-go is the non-committal version, where you can select individual services and pay for what you use. You can turn it on and off as soon as you want to. So that is a very easy one to start with. You then have your committal ones. So there's two main ones. I'll touch on that fourth bullet point in just a second. But you can take individual services. So I'll use the example of integration suite, which is a common one that we see, or maybe SAC or DataSphere. They can be taken out and they can be subscribed to as an individual service. So typically that will be done over a 3-year term, and it will be your usage of that service will be estimated, and then you will be signed up. Same as in the SAP ERP world, you have a bill of material that is reduced. This would be something similar, so it would sit as a line. As I say, integration suite, SAC, and DataSphere are common ones that we see pulled out in a bill of materials and individual service subscription. Now there's enterprise agreements. So these are pre-purchased credits, and these are going to be the key focus area for the following discussion that we're going to have today. So there is what most people will know as Cloud Platform Enterprise Agreements, so CPEA credits. And as of April, that has now been switched over to BTP Enterprise Agreements. So I'm not sure why they needed to do the specific name change, but the commercial model is exactly the same. You pre-purchase and commit to a value of consumption, and then you activate the services or subscribe to the services after, and that then reduces down the credits that you have pre-purchased. Typically what happens with that is you enter, you get a discount for subscribing to an amount up front. You do have to commit to, again, most likely a 3 or more year term. But what that does is that allows you access to the full, in this circumstance for BTPE, 66 services, and you can just activate them. It also allows you access to free tier services. So there is additional benefits which Vic will just showcase in just a minute. Now, the final one here is the partner managed cloud. So this is where partners like Bluestonex, there are other partners as well, they will be the ones subscribing to the services on your behalf. They effectively act as a middleman, where they take on the commitment and the responsibility of either an individual subscription or an enterprise agreement, but then they add on a level of service. That could be, in our circumstance, that would be monitoring, the activation of services, the knowledge base of how to kind of connect it, etc. So there is an element of service, and there's a value add to that as well. So those are the models in a nutshell. So I'll just pass now to why does this matter to me? So again, we have this person's head in their hands. Why does this matter to me? Why should I know about what commercial model I'm on? Well, I'll give you some numbers here. 980 days into a 3-year contract to the value of just over £500,000. A customer of ours has come to us, and we have introduced, we want to get involved in understanding what their BTP commercial model is that they have direct with SAP. And once we pulled back the covers and revealed they have not started using any of this. So this is where it becomes quite scary, is a lot of customers have subscribed to BTP enterprise agreements as part of much larger deals, or they may have activated individual service lines that have been added to bill of materials as part of S4HANA projects, or potentially that's been roped into agreements that have been agreed just now, and customers have not thought about how they're going to drive the value out of this. Now, typically we see about a 5 times return on investment when people do commit to BTP with a strategy in mind, but we are seeing a lot of situations like this where £500,000 has been invested, but the value has not been driven from the business. Now, just to allow everybody to fully understand, the enterprise agreements that you subscribe to over this 3-year period, you pay for that upfront, you prepay that. So if you do not eke out £500,000 worth of value, if you do not consume those credits, you lose them year on year. So if you split that into thirds, about £160,000, £170,000 each year, if you've not consumed them, you've lost them. The next year starts at 170 grand. Again, if you've not consumed that full allowance, you lose them. So the enterprise agreement has many, many benefits, but it also has a huge potential of risk if you have not pre-thought about how and where you're going to use these credits. Now, I will hand it over to Vic, who will take us through the Discovery Centre. Vic. Oh, sorry. Okay.
I'll share my screen. You see the screen, Rich?
Yep.
Thank you. So yeah, Discovery Center, and I'm looking this side because that's the screen which I'm sharing. So sorry for that. But SAP Discovery Center is basically your one-stop destination to know about BTP. Now, there are many use cases or instances where you would go to Discovery Center, and I'll tell you a few of those. The first one is, Richard said that there are so many Lego bricks and you do not know what particular Lego bricks can be used for. So you go to this particular offering called services, and this services basically lists down all the services which are available on BTP, and you can go into one of those and look at all the details, how they can be implemented. There are different missions. So missions meaning it's a group of tasks which you need to do to explore that particular service. So you can do hands-on, you can do maybe the project planning and everything. All the steps are mentioned over there that will give you a better understanding of how to implement a particular service. And lastly, you have the reference architectures, which gives you kind of a sample where you can refer to how these Lego bricks talk to each other and how BTP as a platform binds all these services together. So one instance could be that you do not know the services and you're going into it. You're exploring. The other use case could be that you already have committed to certain number of cloud credits, which is again your money, and you're not able to utilize it in the current scenario. So that's what Richard was saying, that every year you are actually losing those cloud credits. So let's say you have a use case, you want to implement it, and since you already have committed to a particular spend, you just need to explore the services for that particular use case, and then you go in here. So for that case, missions could be one of your entry point, because these missions have some use cases as well, be it a POC, but still it gives you information about different services and how they talk to each other for that particular use case. So if we go into service catalog, which will be the area of focus for today's webinar, you can actually, if you know about the service, you can directly search over here, or you can go via the commercial models. So to know what your commercial model is, obviously the contract is the first place where you can go in and look at it, or you can go into your SAP BTP cockpit and have a look like what particular commercial model it uses. So in total, there are 93 services, but this is for all the commercial models. If I go just for CPEA, there are only 88 services. And if I go to the newly introduced BTPEA, which is the next version of CPEA, then you have 62 services. Now, one thing people say is why the services have reduced. There are few services that have been deprecated. Maybe the next version will come out soon, but there are many services that have been clubbed together with an existing service, and that gives you that reduces the number, but at least it gives you your value for money. For example, the SAP build code, it gives you Cloud Foundry runtime, it gives you many other services which are bundled together with SAP build code. That's why this number is less. And you have pay-as-you-go services as well. So these are the services. If I just go in here, you can also look at the provider and you can filter the list. So for example, if you already have a BTP sub account, maybe hosted by AWS, then you can just click on it and see what all services you can use. Because if you are not going to create a new sub account, you are restricted to these services only. Say, for example, if you are on Microsoft Azure, you have less services. So if you want to, and this particular restriction will come in when you choose the region as well. So for example, if you are into Europe, Netherlands, and on Azure, you have just 57 services. So you need to be very careful in designing your BTP architecture, in designing your BTP complete landscape. And the first place where you should go is this one, because this gives you a better understanding of which service is available where and on which provider. And one last thing before I hand it over to Richard, you can filter all these services based on the solution or the capabilities. I'll show you HANA Cloud. So this is HANA Cloud. When you click on it, each of these services have different service plans based on the commercial model as well. These changes, the prices change, but these are the service plans for this particular service. Now, if you want to know, since you already have cloud credits and you're not spending, if you want to know how much it will cost, this is the place where you need to go, and you need to choose a particular pricing model. See, for example, this is a free tier, so that will not cost you anything for a particular time. But this one, SAP HANA Cloud Databases, if you go, it's capacity units. For one block, it's 0.75 euros, which means that if you go to the calculator and if you know about the particular sizing, like how much data you need, maybe you can go with a particular pre-configured configurations, then it will tell you that this is the capacity units, 3691 capacity units. And when you go back, and this particular service, you can add it here. So you can go add the service as cloud. And this is the capacity units. So if I say it's 3691, then that's the amount which you're going to pay. And this will give you indicative cost since you're not using it, you're just exploring this particular service. This will be within your, like the committed amount which you have as per the contract, and you can see if you can use it within that budget or not. So
yeah, I think this is a really important point, isn't it, Vic? Because in terms of how Bluestonex and team use this, we'll have conversations with maybe new customers, identify what they're going to use the Discovery Center to kind of map out the architecture, and then using the information like Vic has just shown, we then create an estimate of what consumption is going to be required. So especially for when we are positioning an enterprise agreement type model, what we want to ensure is that we're not oversubscribing maybe too far, maybe a little bit of wiggle room there, but we try and do it in a way that we maximize full consumption of the credits. that are available. So we're only subscribing at the start to what is likely to be used within that year. You can also do, you can structure them in a way that we ramp up. So if we know that for the first year, we're only going to use, let's say 50%, but by year 2 we go up, and year 3 we go up. We can structure over the 3-year period that it increases in that capacity. It's a little bit more complicated in terms of doing that. Vic, we actually had a question from the audience just while we're on this. How easy is it to move from one commercial model to another if we find an individual subscription is no longer enough and we would like to move to BTP EA, for example? So do you want to answer from a technical perspective, how easy is it to move from using the services where you've got an individual subscription to then an enterprise agreement? And I'll maybe touch on the commercial aspect.
Yep. I think technically, if you're on CPEA, then BTPEA, the move is like by the contract.
So I think this person's saying that they're on like an individual subscription. So let's like it to maybe integration suite, maybe. Let's use that as the example.
Yeah. Then probably the best place where you need to go is your account executive, because they will be telling you that what would be the right path. Reason being, there are different aspects, as Rich was saying. There is account related aspects as well as technical aspects. Maybe SAP can give you the same tenant URLs and everything in a different commercial model. Your commercial commitments may change, but the URLs, they may leave it as it is. So it completely depends on how your conversation goes with your account executive.
And from a technical perspective, how easy is the move?
So technically, we do not do anything. If SAP says that, yes, we can have that particular instance which has been subscribed to, we can basically hold it, then you do not have to do anything. You just need to maintain the same URL to access the tenants. But if SAP says that, no, you have to move to a new sub-account in the new contract, then obviously that's a big change. And that's where you need to contact your account executive to see what will be the right path for you to move.
We've just had another one. I've heard that SAP are trying to move everyone to a credit structure. BTP EA will later remove subscriptions. Is this correct? I can fully believe that that is the case. I am still finding that, as I say, especially with Integration Suite, SAC, DataSphere, there are still bill of materials where they are individual lines. And then there is a, and again, this is the UKI sub, so I'll speak freely here. There is usually an amount of BTPA enterprise agreement type credits that they will factor in. So it's usually kind of a value that then comes on a much bigger bill of material. And this is where it's not always clear to customers where they're going to get value on. The evidence is there to say that they will get value on it if they then go and do something with it. So let's say it's a 50 grand or 100 grand that's been added on to the end of the bill of material, and it's a percentage of the total bill of material as part of an S4HANA deal. You should get 5 times the investment back on the basis that from kind of early on you invest in that. So sorry, I'm jumping between Q&A and the chat, so apologies. If our SAP BTP EA contract is with SAP, what can Bluestonex offer? I'll touch on that later on. Is it easy to upgrade from a free-tier pay plan to a paid service plan? Vic, do you want to just quickly answer that one?
Yeah, I can take that one. So from experience, we have an instance where it was not a good experience. But technically, and we have seen it again from experience as well, that it was just one case which was a bad experience. Otherwise, it was a good experience. So we have done POCs on free tier, and then we have upgraded that particular service plan to a standard one. So that's possible technically.
Final question here before we just move on is, if you consume over your credit agreement, is it then charged at pay-as-you-go, or is it a pro rata rate of your credit agreement? So if you're on the BTP EA credit agreement, there is a price file for that, that as you consume, you're charged on that basis. So that then consumes through your credits until such point as you've fully consumed them. And then there is, you just pay additional on top. It's more a management of your spend. That's kind of the issue. I'm not aware, Vic, maybe you can clarify whether there's a penalty where you pay a percentage over that cost. I don't believe that there is. Maybe you can just clarify though.
Yeah, I think it just says that on a pro rata basis you pay, but it doesn't say that whether it's a pay as you go or a CPA price or a BTP price. So
and our experience is that it isn't the pay as you go price.
I don't think so, no. We have
Okay.
consumed it, but it's not the pay as you go price.
Okay, we will, some really good questions. Thank you to the audience there. We will just move on then, just conscious of time. Sorry, this is, cool. So thank you for that. So we just wanted to quickly show you our video here. So this, Vic, do you want to introduce this?
Yeah, sure. So after you have seen Discovery Center, now it's the time where you will say that, okay, how much am I consuming? And you can see this in BTP Cockpit, but it's not that user intuitive. You have so many problems, and that's why we came with this particular product of ours, which is called BTP Monitor, and it gives you much more functionalities. Let's have a look at this demo, and then it'll be much more clear. Welcome to the demo of the BTP Monitor application. This is one application by Bluestonex that gives you an overview of how your usage and costings are for a particular global account. So for example, this is the initial landing screen where we can see the global account and then the contract details, how much cloud credit has been allotted, and in terms of technical details, like how many customer directories we have, the total sub accounts we have created, and across how many regions they are available. It also gives you a cost indication, also the cloud credit consumption, and what is your remaining cloud credit. The graph here shows you how you have used your cloud credits, and even if you switch on to the second button here, it tells you that how many cloud credits are remaining, and it's going down till 0, till you consume all your credits. The lower part of the screen gives you the customers here. So for this particular global account, we have multiple customers and we are managing it that way. This is the period where all these costs and services are being used, and it has been mentioned. So let's say for Bluestonex, this is the cost for this current month, and we are using all these services. If we want to go deeper into one of the customer accounts, then we can click on it, and it gives a basic overview of the customer. Then it gives the user license count. This is using HANA Cloud to store some of the data, and then we use APIs to check how many user licenses are being used. Next, on the services consumption, you can click and choose any of these services and look at how we have been using it for a particular period. So for example, SAP Build Workzone Standard Edition, if we use it, then you have the matrices called connections and users. For the current month, there are 72 connections, but if we go for users, there are 20 users who are using it. And these are the sub-accounts where the Launchpad or the Workzone Standard Edition has been used. You have different view options, so you can also see the analytics or in the tabular form, and you can download it from here. Similarly, for costings, you can click on this particular drop down and select different services and see the cost for that particular period. You can also see the sub accounts, so even you can remove one of the sub accounts and you can see the numbers have changed. And similar options here, you can go into the table view, you can download it as well. Coming back again to the main screen where we have the customers. So customers can be your different departments. It completely depends on you how you want to charge them. But these are basically the directories which are under the CPEA global account for us. These can be your different departments, and you can see the cost based on the departmental usage of BTP. The second part of this application is the application tracker. So say you have basically built, let's say, hundreds of applications, but you don't know the applications are being used by the users or not. So this particular application gives you the information about that. So the first overview screen tells you what devices are being used. So for the past 3 months, I can see only the desktop has been used. What operating system, so Windows and Mac, then what browsers are being used, and you have different applications and their usage based on desktop, phone, or a tablet. You can see there was only desktop here. That's why this blue icon, the blue bars you're seeing, and not seeing anything else. You can also see inactive users and active users, and the most active users you can see from this bar graph. So that's the first tab, but you can go into application details. See, for example, there is a team calendar or clear differences app. Let's say I go to team calendar, then it gives me the information that there have been 17 visits by 3 different users, and these are the users. Again, same information about the browsers, devices, and the operating systems, and when, who visited, it's all logged in here. If I go to this particular application, it says the clear differences IM app has been used by just one user, that's Paula, and this particular application uses HANA Cloud, which has a kind of indicative cost of 473. There has been a calculation that is going behind all these things, and it gives you indicative cost for all these services. You can also look at the device details. As we have seen, it's only desktop, so you can click on it and see the applications and the users who are using it, and even the browsers and operating systems. If the applications have been used on mobile, you'll see a different line item here, and you can click on it and get the same details. And from user specific as well, so user level details you can see. So if I click on the first user here, I can see that how many times the user has visited, on what kind of desktop or mobile or tablet, the browsers, operating systems, and then a list of all the applications the user has visited. So if you have all this information, you can very well say that, okay, I have invested on this particular application and this is being adopted by the users. So this gives you a very good indicative cost as well as the adoption of your application. And lastly, you can go to manage alerts. So alerts give you an option to get notified when a particular threshold has been met. So for example, if you see the configured alerts here are, for this particular sub account, I want an alert on SAP Business Application Studio, and the condition is that Business Application Studio users, if they are greater than or equal to 5, I need an alert, and this is active. So whenever we have the 6th user or the 5th user going into Business Application Studio for a particular month, I'll get an alert, an email stating that this particular threshold has been reached. You can add alerts here. So for a particular directory, sub-accounts, whether you need a report or a notification, whether it needs to be active or not, you can define your triggers, so you can select any of these services, and then a metric, and then the thresholds you can put in here. And you can also define where that particular communication needs to go, so email address, and then any custom message which you have to send during the alert which has been triggered from this application. You also have option to edit the existing alerts or delete it, but you can also additionally have alerts triggered in the past 7 days that are listed over here. You can also search all these alerts because we understand if you have multiple alerts configured, it would be difficult to go through a long list. You can directly search it from here. So that's it in the BTP monitor. Welcome to the demo.
Thank you for that, Vic. Pre-recorded there, just so that we avoid the live demo scenarios. So that was just an example of that. So that is a tool that is available for purchase from ourselves for anybody to use. We use it because we have multiple sub-accounts for our customers as part of our partner managed cloud. So we need to be on top of the consumption and making sure that we're within the right thresholds. But if you need to speak to us about how that can drive value into your business, then please let us know. So we got asked a question a wee while ago around what else can kind of Bluestonex, where I've procured directly with SAP. How can Bluestonex help us? So for us, as I say, we have a number of products that we've developed over a period of time that are available on the SAP store, as well as on the new SAP Business Accelerator Hub. These are pre-built and certified solutions. So SAP certify them to make sure that they're in line with the right structures, and they're going to be fitting for SAP as they move forward. And these are designed to be rapidly deployed and deliver value to your business in a rapid fashion. So in short, I will show on the next screen a couple of examples, but master data, customer vendor portals, document processing via AI. So we'll touch on that one. In addition, you saw in what Vic has just shown us a whole list of different applications that are there. Now, we have worked with customers over the last decade creating either extensions of Fury applications or even custom applications that maybe do one very specific job. Now, these sit in an archive of hundreds of applications, and we use these with new customers as accelerators. These are typically things that are very specific to your business and your process, but the framework behind them usually can be reused so that we can deliver, again, value really quickly to you. And it's more a consume first, create later. So that's, again, where we get lots of discussions with customers around maybe engineering apps, warehousing apps, goods receipt, all these types of terminologies. They're very common and share the same structures, but the process may be very, very different. You may want it to look and interact with different mobile devices. So that's where they're not necessarily an off-the-shelf SAP store product, because we need to customize them to you. But we do that in a rapid fashion as part of the App House methodology. And then finally, we offer a number of BTP focused workshops. So where you have got cloud credits, but want to get off the ground on how to use them, we do Innovation 101s. So we talk you through that App House methodology. We also, and again, the user group are very familiar with this one. We've used Lego Serious Play as part of the user group in the past. So we are certified to do sessions on numerous topics. But Lego Serious Play is a really good way to spend the day with teams in your organization to eke out a path and a direction forward. That could be on something around how to build applications. It could be to identify best practices for a certain process in your organization. There's a number of different things. And then finally, we also have the BTP Down game. Now, this was a game that was derived by SAP themselves to help companies understand the different services within BTP and how they are going to drive value into their business. We have 2 copies, which means that we can basically put teams against each other, and we can do sessions at site, or you can come to our offices and we can do that. So we offer these workshops out to our customers. Just moving on. So some of the flagship products, Maestro is our biggest kind of product there. That covers master data management and governance. So this is the only one out of the list that's there that does have an element that sits on core, so is only available for your private landscapes, so private RISE, Grow, on-prem type systems. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's not available on public RISE. However, we are working on a version that will. But that covers all different master data objects. It's a really slick product that we serve. On the back of that, we have BPX there, which is our business partner onboarding and management experience. And then finally there, which we will show you, we've got documents. They are all part of a family of products. This is the one that we did as part of the Next Level program. Was incredibly successful, and this uses a lot of the AI or Gen AI technology that's coming through BTP at the moment. Finally, the one BTP Monitor we've just seen, and then HRX, which is like a human resources. So for companies that maybe aren't quite the right size to go down a success factors route, but need some tools to help them with timesheet management, for holiday entitlements, all those types of things, HRX is a suite of applications which are available there. And again, all of these consume your credits. So yes, there's an IP part that we charge, but if you have already made the investment in the infrastructure, i.e. BTP credits, then essentially you're just adding value into your company very, very quickly. I'm just going to touch quickly on Documate. We'll just show a very quick snippet of it. But this, I'll maybe let Vic just introduce where this came from and where it's at the moment.
Yep, sure. So Documate is basically a solution that digitally processes all your financial documents as of now, although the aim is to process any kind of document. It uses bits of automation as well as AI to do all the process. So it's like when 2 businesses talk to each other, they exchange the financial documents, for example, invoices, POs, SOs, and all. This particular application has a demo. So yeah, we can go to demo.
It's just a quick 1-minute snip, so it's going through it very, very quickly.
Okay. So it's mainly helping your AP clerks at the moment, and also doing conflict resolution via generative AI. So as you can see, it has already created emails drafted in the drafted format. You can edit it and you can send if you have any PO mismatches or any kind of conflict that needs to be managed between the business partners.
Yeah, and this is particularly important because if you, again, have BTP Cloud credits, you then activate some of the Gen AI services within BTP, then this would be a really strong use case to start using it, but then you can continue to use those services for other applications. And again, you've already kind of made the investment in that tool. So a lot of companies at the moment for this particular scenario will have a third-party application which needs integrations that need to be maintained. This lives within the BTP arena, which means that it's intuitively connected with your SAP systems. You can use this now if you're in ECC and on the move to S4HANA. And again, because this sits as a completely cloud solution, when you move, nothing really changes here. This is an application that will just continue to run as is as well. So just a quick snippet of one of the products there. Finally, I wanted to touch on BTP health checks. So this is something that when I showed earlier the description of the 980 days and £500,000 kind of spent, this is where we have felt that there's a gap on customers' knowledge of BTP. We have a team of experts that can use our tools to go in and really pull out the metrics of what's being consumed and where value is being driven. So this is just an example of some of the information that we kind of pull back. So we developed the BTP health check, which we're running with a number of customers at the moment. We produce a report and we present the findings as well. So this is basically if you don't necessarily know what it is that you've got, how it's being used, who's using it, all of those things. Then we present this in a bit of a workshop format, and then we can, at the end of it, then suggest ways in which we can then move forward and help deliver value. So if we identify that you've got £500,000 and you've got 2 years left to use that, we can then help you come up with a strategy on how to use that. So again, it's a really low impact in terms of low effort service that we offer. So we can run this over about a period of a week, where we go in, we install our consumption monitor to get a number of the metrics. We interview some of the team that are using BTP and interacting with them, and then we can kind of present the findings back. So again, if that's something that is of interest, then people can reach out to us. So our contact details, links to our websites, etc. But we have some questions from the audience, which I'll just open up. Oh, Vic, you've been maybe answering some of them, is it?
We had 2 questions, and I have answered it, typing the answer.
Do you want to go through them just quickly?
Yeah, sure. So there was a question on CPEA model. So as per contract, it's a CPEA model, but the usage matrix is spend with annual value attached. So there was a confusion regarding the calculation of cost for any of the activated services. So how these credits consumed. So what I have mentioned is CPEA is basically a consumption model. So whatever you have seen in the Discovery Center demo is basically before you are actually using the services, it basically tells you an estimate that this could be your cost. But actual cost depends on how much you are using. That will come after you have activated the services and used the services. And that you can see in SAP BTP Cockpit. There's an option for a usage or cost, or you can come to us for BTP Monitor app. That can also show you the usage and the cost that needs to be billed, or SAP will bill you for that.
Okay, and then we've got another one. The confusion I have is related to the blocks, or is that the one you've just?
Yeah, both.
Yeah, that's fine. Very similar. Okay. Any other questions from our audience then?
There's one more. Joule is not listed on Discovery Center. How to enable it? So Joule is not a service. It's basically it will be embedded into all the cloud platform or all the cloud enterprise softwares or products from SAP. It's not specific to BTP, but later when it is released for SAP BTP, you do not have option, but it will be embedded into it and you could use it directly. Hope that answers your question, Andrew.
Any final questions then? Is the BTP consumption report you offer freely accessible to non-Bluestonex customers? I'm not sure I necessarily understand the question. I'll answer it in 2 ways. So the BTP Consumption Monitor is that is a product that you can lease off ourselves, that you can go in and kind of monitor yourselves. If you're talking about the BTP health check and the fact that we utilize the monitor as part of that service, the BTP health check is available to any customer.
Yeah, I think
so. I think that's how the question is phrased now.
Yeah, I think it is on. I mean, it's a follow-up of the same question on the CPEA. So BTP consumption report is basically in our BTP monitor, which is a product. But there is another option where you can see it in BTP cockpit. That's what I said in my previous answer.
Okay. Any final questions then? If not, thank you very much for everybody's time. I believe there's been some questions around where the slides will be shared, which they will be, and the recording will be shared as well. So if anybody would like to get in contact, then, or even just to chat with us about their BTP, please get in contact. Thank you, Andrew, as well. But no, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Richard and Vic. Yeah, there's no more questions. It doesn't seem to be at the moment. We'll end it there. And once again, thank you all for joining, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, bye.